So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our discussion of emerging trends around consumers and data. My name is Nathan Shannon. I am the Deputy Director for the Smart Energy Consumer Collaborative. I'm going to be moderating today's session. I'm joined with a great group of panelists here. We're lucky to have some rock stars on the stage. I have Debbie Kimberly, who's the Vice President of Customer Energy Solutions at Austin Energy. We also have Maria Garcia, who is the Vice President of Community Engagement at CPS Energy, and Emmett Ryan, who is from Powerly. He's their Senior Vice President. So before we get into the discussion, I want to give each of you guys a chance to just do a quick 1-minute intro for yourselves, a little bit about you, your role in your organization, and so everyone knows where you're coming from.
Sure, I'm happy to kick off. So like Nathan said, I have the privilege of managing not only customer energy solutions, but more recently, marketing and communications. So it's kind of like potpourri for 500, Alex, and I have the best job at the utility. So I tell my boss that all the time. We serve 490,000 customers, 1 million residents. We're at about 38% renewable, but we'll be at 56% renewable by the year 2021 and have a goal to get to 65% renewable energy by the year 2027. Austin Energy, if you didn't already know, I heard it in the session next door, will be celebrating its 125th anniversary next year. I was not here at the time, but I can tell you, and we're going to talk about brand in a bit. I mean, from our very beginning, from our inception back in 1895, we were all about customers and we were all about the community. So I look forward to chatting with you some more about that.
Maria?
Good afternoon. I am Maria Garcia, and I am very proud to be a part of our CPS Energy team. I've been a part of the team this is my 20th year now, so I've had the privilege, as you say, of seeing how our customers have evolved, how their needs and wants have changed, and especially what technology has done. And so very, very proud. I lead a team on the community engagement side, folks who go and do outreach, and education in our community of the value that we deliver. And then I also here recently gained corporate responsibility, which is how we, as a municipally owned utility, invest back in the community to make significant impact. But very proud to be here. Thank you so much, and looking forward to the discussion.
All right.
Emmett Romine, I head up business development at Powerly. It covers sales, delivery, and regulatory strategy. Our company is the ripe old age of 4 years old as of a couple of weeks ago, so we got ends of the spectrum here. We're a brand new company. We're a joint venture between DTE Energy and a company called Vector Form. It's a local innovation firm that was spun out just over 4 years ago. And our purpose in life is to connect a smart grid to the smart home and bring solutions to utilities and their customers that can take advantage of the utility AMI infrastructure data and liven it up and bring it to life and use it to help customers oversee their home and take the chaos out of the utility bill question. Also help with automation, all the comfort and convenience and security things that come along with that. So glad to be here to talk about these topics today. This is an exciting discussion.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so I do have a few slides to guide us in the discussion. Don't worry, it's not going to be death by PowerPoint. But just to give you a little bit of an overview of my organization. So we're a nonprofit that does consumer research around what customers' trends and preferences are towards energy, towards their utility, and can test their knowledge and awareness around energy efficiency actions. We do, our research is US and Canadian based with about 165 members who are a part of that, scoping out that research. So this panel sort of came about through some discussion of some recent research that SECC has done over the past few months. We do, in particular, a lot of research around data analytics and personalization, as well as value-add services that utilities are bringing on and helping kind of deliver an enhanced customer experience. I mean, as we've heard a lot today, consumers are comparing their customer experience to outside industries. They have a higher level, or we think that they have a higher level of customer expectations. So we're trying to test those trends and see where we can best serve customers and how to communicate with them. So that's kind of how the discussion came about. And our discussion is going to be a lot more focused on bringing consumer benefit out of analytics and out of personalization and things like that. I know that in previous discussions it was a little more in the weeds on the back end of how we're getting the analytics. This is more on the insights that we can learn from and deliver a higher level of customer experience. So we have three key areas that we're going to talk about today, so there's just going to be some background slides to help us guide the discussion, but it is going to be more of a fireside chat. The first is consumer engagement. And this is a term, obviously, that comes up quite a bit in these type of conferences and our research, but I wanted to take a step back and really look into why customers, or why this is important to utilities. So, we talk about it as being something important. What is the overall goal? Is it increased customer satisfaction? Is it to have, increased loyalty to the brand, things like that? So I want to give everyone a chance to give their thoughts on what they think the overall goal of consumer engagement is. Anyone can start, but I told you I wasn't always going to make you start first.
I said, just because I'm sitting next to you, Nathan, does that mean I have to go first every time? Well, I'll start off. It's really all of the above, but let me step back a bit. You can't have good consumer engagement unless you have employee engagement, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to start there. And now it sounds like I'm going to be giving an ad to our sort of little friendly rival down the road at CPS Energy, the woman sitting here in the front.
That's why I'm sitting next door.
People first, right?
That's right.
So
That's right.
You can't, see, I've been listening to you a few times, Paula. So you can't really have good consumer engagement unless that just imbues your organization. And somebody said earlier today, it's from the person that is the distribution line worker to the CSR, the CEO, everybody in between. So it's really important not to lose sight of that. In the case of Austin Energy, we do strive to improve consumer engagement, and it's for the purposes of customer satisfaction. So like CPS Energy, we're a municipal utility. We are not deregulated in the classic sense of the word. So you say, why do you worry about that, Austin Energy? Your customers don't have choice. Well, guess what? Our customers do have choice. Just because they don't have choice doesn't mean we shouldn't be out there offering them different types of options. You want all wind, you can have all wind. You want all solar, you can have all solar. And you don't have to have it on the roof of your house. You can have our regular offerings. You can have our EV360, I call it the Lubies model. It's all you can eat. And for a mere $30 a month, wherever you charge, however you charge, just don't charge on peak. So what it means is about getting your customers to a point where they truly respect your utility. They trust you. The interactions with your utility are seamless, right? Easy to do business with. And frankly, once you do that, every now and then, have any of you in this room ever made a mistake in your business? Huh? Everyone? Ever have one of those customer transactions that goes completely sideways?
Yeah.
So when you have really good consumer engagement, when something like that happens, your customers are more likely to say, I understand, I forgive you, and move on. If you don't have that, though, let me tell you, you're heading down a really dark, rocky road. So I'd really say it's all of the above.
Definitely. It is all of the above for our CPS Energy customers. We have a wonderful menu of products and services that we offer our San Antonio community, our Bexar County community, but we couldn't structure that if we didn't have customer engagement. Historically, we've stood at programs, I know everybody in the room will be shocked to hear this, but you'd stood at programs without the customer even having input. And so we cannot afford to leave these customers behind anymore. So to your point, there may not be choice, but there really is. There really is. And so we need to be ensure that we bring the customer along as we're planning our strategies. It's not at the granular level, but it is having a conversation. My team just by itself tracks the number of touch points in which we're out in the community, and it's numbering in the thousands. And it could be a small event with a homeowners group, or it could be a big hall where we're presenting one of our strategic initiatives like our flexible path. So we just cannot afford to leave the customer behind. And as we continue to bring the technology, and we had a conversation around data, and that's going to guide us, but you cannot structure these programs without input from the public. Our customers. I mean, they are the reason we're here. It sounds cliches, but that's exactly, a lot of us wake up happy to go in because we know we're making a big difference.
Right.
But yes, we cannot afford to leave our customers out. They have to be along with us.
Well, actually, I mean, before I just broadly pass it on to you, I mean, to follow up on that, is getting customer input is important, but I mean, I think you could probably talk to this a little bit, is how can we use analytics to be that additional input? I mean, obviously it's important to get what customers' opinions are, but you can also tell a lot about what their actual actions are. So can you talk a little bit how to use both of those together to really customize
when you
something?
put a digital platform out into the space and people are using it, you get an enormous amount of feedback just based on what they use and what they don't use. And if you set it up right, you can get direct feedback right through the channels. Example, in our platform, we put up little ingots of information we call Powerley Advisor cards, and give every customer the ability to just give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down, whether they like or not, and we use that. We might eliminate a card if we're getting lots of thumbs down, or rewrite it, or whatnot, so we can get it right. But more broadly, I think it take at a different angle, coming from a technology company point of view. What we're always challenged from the utilities we work for is what's the value proposition you're bringing to the table for our customers. We want engagement, but there's got to be a value prop that makes sense for everybody, all the stakeholders involved. And so putting an offer out to the customer, if you want to extend yourself from just offering energy, for example, and you want to start to get into the services model, or get into some utilities get into storefronts and things like that. What's the value prop? Why should I shop in your store? Why should I use your tool and not use the other guy's tool that they say is better? So that's another angle that we get challenged a lot on the engagement side, is bring me the engagement, but bring me the value proposition that will guarantee the engagement happens.
Yeah, I mean, that actually is a good segue to a question I have about value-add services and products that a lot of utilities, as you mentioned, are branching into. We've done some research, and I know Debbie was familiar with one of the pieces we did called Customer Experiences and Expectations, where there was comparisons, as I said, between other industries. And utilities might not rank high in the innovation side of things, but they always rank high in trust, and they are seen as that trusted resource of information, of education. So how do you leverage that relationship with your customer to maybe get them interested in some of these value-add products and services, and maybe that's the reason they go through their utility instead of an outside vendor?
Well, the trust factor certainly helps, but utilities, as was mentioned earlier today, possess enormous amounts of data, sometimes to our detriment, I might say. So we have so much data, especially this day and age, on our customers. Sometimes the sheer volume of data that you have on your customers can be a little bit overwhelming. And you heard somebody talk earlier today about personas. I was in a meeting 2 weeks ago, and somebody talked about creating personas, and I asked a question, and the person said, "Your persona is impatient, Debbie." If you talk to any of my staff, and I know some of them were here, they'd say, "Yeah, Debbie, your persona was impatient." So you do it a number of ways. I'm a huge believer in pilots, so I talked about the EV360 pilot. Charge off peak, you get the Luby's deal, it's buffet pricing, $30 a month, it's simple and it's easy. Frankly, you offer a premium offering, and who would think in this day and age people would pay above whatever your posted tariff is for energy? Well, Austin Energy is the 4th largest seller of green pricing to customers in the nation, and we've got some pretty big competition. You heard from some of them earlier this morning. And so they subscribe to a green choice, 100% wind energy at a premium. Something else that you have to do if you really want to add those value-added services, you use the data, but listen to your customers. And my parents always told me that. Listen, you have 2 ears, you have 1 mouth, Debbie. So, all right, I got it, Mom and Dad, it took a long time, but listen to them. So when people call into our call center, and we run these campaigns twice a year, so I know it sounds kind of old school, right? Call center, you're not doing the digital stuff, you're not doing like the ads on the side of the road that continually change. No, they call into the call center, and we have competitions with our CSRs. And every week they have a weekly competition. You get the pizza party, you get the ice cream sundae party, whatever. In 1 year, there was a woman that sold 10 times as many subscriptions as any other person. And I said to her, "What did you do?" And her supervisor was sitting in the room. She said, "I don't think I should tell you with my supervisor sitting here. Under the cone of silence, you can trust me, no harm will come to you." She said, "Well, I listen to them. If they sound young, I say, you just graduated from college, you just got married. Would you be interested in our regular power, or would you like our green pricing option?" And she said, every time the younger customers, and I can tell by their voice, I can tell what they share with me on the phone, they want the green offering. So then I said to her, well, what's your other secret? And then she got really nervous. She said, well, I use an English accent. I said, what? Hello, you've reached Austin Energy. How can I be of help to you? She said, when I use the English accent, everybody signs up for Green Choice because everybody loves the English. And I thought, I'm so using that at a city council meeting. I've got this one. I'll just flip on my really bad English. But what was she doing? She was listening, she was filtering, she was processing, and her customers were happy. She actually crushed it in the competition, and she was afraid to admit that for fear that she was going to get in trouble for being pretty unique in her approach. So I would say, don't be afraid. No, I can't get away with the English accent. Trust me, I can't. But don't be afraid to do new things, even if it's using old technology. Does that make sense? Even if it's what you do in your call center. And I can tell you, our research shows that our customers that talk to us, that have that interaction with us, have more positive views of Austin Energy than customers that don't. So it's not a one-size-fits-all.
Right, yeah, multiple channels, meeting the customer where they are,
Right.
yeah, exactly. Well, Maria, I know you work a lot with low to moderate income customers.
Yes.
I mean, can you provide a perspective on maybe some services, products that have engaged those consumers and that you think were
Absolutely. I will share, in Bexar County, there's a 17% poverty rate. We talk, this conference has been great because you talk about digital services and how do you enhance those. But we have a population of customers who do not have those tools. And so we can't leave them behind because for CPS, we're people first. That's our philosophy that our CEO, Paula Gold, who's right here, Paula Gold Williams, brought us. But every single day, it is people first, and so it's every customer. So a lot of it, because they don't have that technology, it requires our team being out, being highly visible, collecting the information base to base, where they are in their communities. A lot of folks sometimes are homebound, they're disabled, they're seniors. A lot of us hablamos español because we have a lot of folks who speak a lot of Spanish in San Antonio, so we can't leave them behind either. And so it requires that relationship. It requires a lot of I love the love. It requires putting the love out in the community and talking to our customers and learning about what is the challenge. How can we bring them along? A lot of them don't have just the basic necessities. There was a story recently about a lady who moved down from, I think it was like Washington State, with 2 children, and they're a family of 4. They live off of $650 a month. $650 a month in a small apartment. And so she says, the choices I have to make are I have to provide for one son 1 month, and then the other month. And so what our team has done is go out and listen to a lot of these stories. They're people, they're living situations. And we've been able to stand up along what you said in pilot mode initially, some services, and they just take off. We have a customer response unit crew that goes out and does very personalized, very custom support for our customers. We're not just a utility when we walk in their homes. Growing up at CPS, it was always taught early on, you stop at the meter, you don't go beyond the meter, because that is the customer space. You don't go in there. There's liability, there's risk, all this other stuff. Now, I'm proud to say our teams go in the home and they scan and they assess. And so if they see there's some pantry opportunities, we get the food bank involved. If we see there's medication needs, we get those folks involved. And kudos to I'm very proud of my team. I love to brag about them because they've done a tremendous job of bringing in a lot of agencies in Bexar County, all for people first. So yes, we go in to help with the utility piece because we are the utility. We're very proud of that. But it's not just utility. It's a lot more. And so I just encourage everybody to remember that we do have a population of customers who don't have the wonderful tools the rest of us do. And so just whatever products and services we have rolled out have been where they fit that particular those segments of customers.
Yeah, hits everyone.
Yes.
Well, I want to move on to the next theme on customer expectations. So we've talked a lot about expectations changing over the last few years. I want to know from each of your perspectives, have you noticed a big change in that? Are there folks that are still, you can give a kind of a low-income perspective of this if it's more of the same, but have you noticed a really big shift in what they're expecting from their utility?
The shift for my customers has been significant, but it's everybody. You've got that phone now, and even our low-income customers, they may not have other services, but some will be able to afford the phone. That is their internet. They don't have internet service, they don't have tablets, they don't have anything like that. They just have that phone. And so, so for us, it's how do we nurture that relationship through that phone? How do we push information to them, solicit? But yeah, it's that tool for our low-income customers has been profound because they do a lot of business through it. Unfortunately, they can't do online, billing, or they can't do any of those transactions, and so we have to stay flexible and keep our walk-in centers, keep those open, because a lot of those customers, that's how they can get in to pay their bill or to ask for help.
Well, I guess there's, and Debbie had mentioned this earlier on making transactions seamless and being able to actually do those transactions on your phone or start them on your tablet and continue on a phone. So for customers outside the low-income space, have you guys worked on creating a seamless digital experience for your customers? Is that something that's in the works?
When we were preparing for this and Nathan shared some of the questions, I thought, a lot of these things, we're a work in progress, and we're probably going to always be a work in progress. Austin Energy cannot compete with an Amazon or an Apple or a Google. Every Saturday, my husband and I, being creatures of habit, go to the same restaurant. And every Saturday when we get in his car, it tells us how many minutes it's going to take to get to that restaurant, even though we've not put in a nav tool. So yes, we are working on that. I can tell you that several years ago, right after I started at Austin Energy, we went to a 5-tier rate structure. Perfect, right? We're all about conservation, and let me tell you, it's working, so much so that the rates people aren't very happy right now, because most of our customers in a 5-tier, don't even get me started on why it's 5, fall in tiers 1 and 2. Fall in tiers 1 and 2, and very few customers fall in tiers 3, 4, and 5. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean we're recovering our costs from those customers, but they've got the conservation message loud and clear. Well, you go in and you put in, for a utility that hadn't gone through a major rate adjustment in, by the way, almost 2 decades, you put in something like a 5-tier inclining block rate structure, you darn well better provide the customers with information. So for a very measly amount of money, and I do mean measly because it didn't even have to go to our council for approval at the time, we put in a free app, a web-enabled application, so that customers could go online and they could sign up for tier alerts when they were looking to, and they could set it before you enter tier 2, before you enter tier 3. You could see what your costs were and what customer really cares about kilowatt hours. They care about the dollars that they're going to pay that month, so that you could see what your expected bill was going to be. And if you have solar, you could also see when your solar system was producing, and best of all, if it's not producing, then you find out right then you need someone to come out and fix that solar system. So that costs nothing for all intents and purposes for Austin Energy. It definitely costs nothing for our customers, and it's a tool that we use. Same thing for outage alerts. So if you live in the Austin area, and by the way, if you happen to be a customer of Austin Energy, thank you for your business. We had terrible storms over the weekend, high winds, all right? 33% of the customers lost power this weekend. I think there were maybe 6,000 or so at the peak, lost power because limbs came down on lines. But they had an outage alert system where they were able to see, yes, we know you're without power, here's when the estimated time of restoration is, because that's what you really care about when you've lost power. When are you going to bring me back up? And if for whatever reason it's delayed, let me know that. So those are the sorts of things that I think it is incumbent upon us to do. Anticipate what your customer needs are in the future, serve them well now, and give them those low-cost tools. And by the way, make it easy for them to find. So when we launch new applications or new web pages on our website, We go in and we say, did you find what you were looking for? The first time we did this, we had 49% of the people said, yes, I found what I was looking for. 49% of the people said, no, I didn't find what we were looking for. Okay, so we have a little work to do. It's kind of split, close to 50-50. So again, continue to engage your customers as you're putting things up on your website or through whatever tool you're using to get their feedback.
Well, Emmett, so from a technology provider standpoint, Powerly provides a lot of information for customers to make educated decisions. What are you seeing as far as making it really simple and seamless for customers? What's your perspective on that?
So a couple things. I think first of all, to get them into a space like this, energy, somebody was saying in an earlier session, it's not an interesting topic. Energy, unless you're paying your bill or you have an outage, it's just a hard thing to get people excited about. So getting them into the space is kind of the first thing, and that part of that comes through education on kind of what they can do. So a lot of utilities have, send out home energy reports or have web tools that get people to the next level, let's say. And then that's kind of where our platform would come in. And the idea here is to give them more information about their home. So you're not just giving them an outcome so they can control status quo. You're giving them information so they can ask the next question. And then you have the answer ready when they're ready to ask it. So the idea is that you give them some historical data. Then they say, man, I wish I could see today what's going on. Then you give them real time. And then they see real time. And the next question is, I can see my thermostat's going off, and I really wish I could control it. Well, let's connect a thermostat for you. And then the utility will come and say, can I control that thermostat too? And then, and so bringing them in, customers are not going to naturally just jump into energy. You have to bring them in and show them use cases, and they have to discover them. They have to discover the use cases in their own particular home, in their own circumstances, and the things that they care about. That's the way we've seen it progress, and it rolls out nicely when you kind of put it in front of them like that.
Right, no, that makes sense. Now, have you guys seen any challenges or certain channels you use for digital, either marketing to customers or digital channels like portals or things like that? Have you seen challenges in those areas or things you've changed or wouldn't use again for customers, or that didn't work well?
I think so I'll go back a bit. We did have, so I've got two kids. They were both born in the mid to late 80s. So they have been wired since birth. They don't know what it's like to live without the internet. And God forbid your internet ever goes out if you've got young kids at home. No amount of playing Monopoly or, dominoes is going to get you through that period. But they've been connected since birth. So we had an outage app early on that you really couldn't see from your phone, all right? You couldn't see it at all. And it didn't, what do you most want to know if you're without power?
When
am I going to get
and
it
what
back?
caused it,
I know,
yeah.
it's like, I don't
We wanna
care.
know.
Great, Austin Energy, I'm without power. When am I going to get it back? So that went through a few iterations. And I don't know, are any of you in here engineers? Come on, you can raise your hands.
I see one.
There's
Yeah,
okay, see the way their hands went up really slowly? So the biggest concern was on an ETR, estimated time of restoration. Well, what if we're wrong, right? What if we're wrong? I mean, we don't, so maybe we should just estimate really long. No, don't do that. I mean, you can always update it. So there's a bit of a give and a take, a pull and a push that you have to go through. So our outage app evolved over time. And I would like to say it's in a much better place now than it is.
Right.
I mean, and I can give you proof of this. A couple of years ago, I was on vacation in Ireland when the hurricane rolled through, or tropical storm Harvey, depending on where you were at the time. And I got an alert in the middle of the countryside in Ireland that my home was without power. So in the morning I got up and I told my daughter, hey, I see your power got restored. I scored more points on that. She's like, what? How did you know that? It was, well, because I got an alert, and that alert worked all the way on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. But I knew what was going on even though I wasn't there. I knew why our power was out, where the problem was, when our power was estimated to be restored, when it was restored, and then I got a note saying, if you have problems, if this is not true, reach out to us again. So that's kind of the full service customer experience. And it started off with not the best in terms of the kludgy old app that we had.
Right.
Just keep
Evolved.
continuing.
Yeah, it evolved along. Well, I guess in the interest of time, I want to move on to our last topic on personalization. And so this is a topic that's come up quite a bit, and utilities have a wealth of data that we can use to help us create very customized, personalized programs. We've talked a little bit about those up here today, but I want to get, especially Emmett, get your perspective on this. It's really important to get customer feedback on programs and to have personas or segments, but really getting it down to a more granular level on how to personalize to a customer of one. I want to get your thoughts on importance of doing that, and how does that make maybe an unengaged customer a more engaged customer when you're targeting them?
Yeah, it's so our platform has evolved over the 4 years that we've been in existence, and we have a pretty good data point to show how customers will engage and understand. We used to primarily focus on just presenting data and giving customers the ability to set a budget and monitor and those kinds of things, and there's some gamification around it. We launched this fall a whole new section of the app called Powerley Advisor, and what we did was we took the insights that people would learn over time by looking at data and just kind of give them the punchline so they wouldn't have to go figure it out for themselves. And that part of the app has become like the most, in terms of the rollouts that we have, the most used part of the entire application, because we're providing them, statuses on their HVAC system. We're providing them an energy score. How are you doing, against yourself? Those kinds of things. And that's the kind of stuff, those are individual calculations for each customer under their own circumstances. There's no two customers alike. They're getting extremely personalized feedback on what's going on in their home, and they're also able to see how they sit relative to customers that are like them, so they can say, am I good, am I bad, is this right, or is this wrong? They don't know until you do some things like that. So, things like the ability to, we ran some programs last summer on DR where we gave customers the ability to earn a coupon, right, to use in the storefront. And if they participated in 10 DR events, they would be, given this coupon code they could use. And the utilization rate was off the charts, but we gave them information about where they were at along that journey as it went through, giving them very precise information. And that's you get a lot of engagement when you're serving up information like that. That's my information, but it's not too creepy, right? You've got to balance that as well. It can't be too outside in, big brotherish, but you're giving them kind of the incentive and matching all those kind of value propositions together that everybody's kind of winning in that situation.
So on kind of the opposite end of that, we've talked a lot about usage data and but there's also important aspects of data from call centers, customer information, not repeating the same offer or not, talking to the consumer about the same thing twice when they're calling in. Would Debbie and Maria, could you guys talk a little bit about kind of that other side of data, maybe not the granular usage side, but of customer information that you can use to help that personalized, help them feel more personalized when they're calling in or when they're accessing your website?
So I think for those folks that were in the room before, one of our panelists was Amelia Batters from CPS Energy. She's Director of Enterprise Advanced Analytics. And so she kind of gives some information around where we're at in utilizing data to benefit customer. But I'm also going to call out Deanna Hardwick here in the front. She's our interim VP of customer engagement and customer success, sorry. And so we're working together with Amelia's team, with Deanna's team, to figure out, for example, call center. You've got 20% of customers, more or less, that bring in 80% of the call volume. A lot of it, especially during peak, is all around billing. It's all around payment plans. They can't keep up, they snowball. So these teams now working together are looking at the data to figure out, well, the payment plans that we have now, why aren't they working? And is it time to just reset and figure out how do we create some that will set up customers for success? But we've got a lot of other initiatives. If I know outage is another one where we're trying to, back to the personalization, but that's as another example. We're using data to figure out where are our customers experiencing most frequent, be it volume or duration of outages, and then we work together to go out into the community to target those customers and have a face-to-face conversation. We also push information on social media. It's multi-channel.
Right.
But that's where we're at in trying to help our customers with the data.
And tagging on to that, You don't necessarily have to go out and build whatever is the most costly with whatever firm is going to give you something really super deluxe. At Austin Energy, sometimes we're a little bit on the lean and mean side. So my team, Liz Jambor and her data analytics folks, developed a 360 view of the customer. So it's absolutely intended to be a tool. It is used. About a third of our CSRs in the call center use this tool. So when someone calls in, they can look at the type of home that they're in. They can look at, are they electric heat? Are they gas heat? They can look, are they in any of our programs? Are they in the demand response programs? Do they have a pool? I mean, all of the sorts of things that can drive some anomalies. So you call in, and instead of saying, hello, Austin Energy here, you know the customer who you're talking to, and you know more about what's inside their house. Thank you for being one of our valued Green Choice customers. We're happening to run a special right now on demand response program in terms of bring your own thermostat, or taking it to the next level, because we come up with such great terms in the utility business. The escalation team, y'all have escalation teams,
Yes.
all right? Yeah, you couldn't call it complaints or the experience, but no, it's the sanitized escalation team. But they have access to that information too. So it really helps them in reducing the amount of time that it takes to resolve a problem for the customer, because they're not going to want to spend a lot of time on the phone with you. They just want their problem, whether it's paying their bill, understanding why they saw a huge increase in consumption in that month. What have you done? Well, it might be you've got a problem with your air conditioning unit, or it might be, lo and behold, your heat and your AC are coming on, and we've seen this happen before at the same time. So that drives a really steep spike in your bill. Or even if you're using one of those devices, handheld devices, if you've got that app enabled, again, low-cost means of engaging with your customer on a personalized basis, and you walk into Costco or Home Depot or Lowe's or any one of the 61 retail locations where we offer discounts, no coupon required, it pops up an alert to tell you what is in that store that you can take advantage of. That's called making it a personal experience.
Yeah, exactly. Making it simple, meeting where they are when they're shopping. So the last kind of topic I want to touch on is, we've heard from other panelists in this conference about customers' concerns around data privacy and security maybe going down a little bit. I mean, so we test this trend in SECC research. We've asked the question in the last 9 years on, is that something that's of high concern? I asked them to rank it. And over the past few years, I think the last study is about a year old, it has been dropping. It's still a concern, but it's not as much of a concern because they're seeing more benefit. All of us have GPS enabled on our phones. We understand we get the benefit. We're more okay with it, and that's obviously something that's important. Now, within the last year, there's been a lot more with some data breaches and Cambridge and all the other things that could have risen that. We just put out a survey that's going to be done in June, so we'll see if that's shifted. I'm interested to get your perspectives if you've seen that either drop or increase as far as data privacy for consumer concern. Have you kind of want to know from the field what you've seen?
I would say what we've done is there have been maybe some feedback. It hasn't been that big, but I think we proactively, because we're municipally owned and we love our customers, we've stood up a team on the security side specific to mitigating and helping us shore up kind of our frontline folks, how they treat customer information. But I don't think it's more from the community. I think we internally are driving that. But as far as customers, it's interesting now. I mean, what folks put on the phone. I mean, they'll enter just about any type of personal information and without a second thought. And a lot of it is, it might be social media or other things, just transactions that I don't think folks are as concerned anymore until the news story hits that there was a breach, and then it's front page.
Right.
Yeah, I think that is an advantage that utilities have. I think Facebook really took it a hard hit over the last year, and some of the others as well. I will say there's a different aspect to it that we've seen, and I know a lot of other utilities are seeing, which is really sad in this day and age, is we are seeing such a surge in scam activity. I mean, there are really, really terrible people out there that do an excellent job of making themselves look like you. And so we really weren't engaged in anti-scam activity much at all until the last, I would say, year or so. And we've got folks here, Kalili's one, who, I mean, she does social media, and we're constantly pushing out scam alerts. And the people that they are preying on are the most vulnerable. They are the low income, low moderate income customers. And the really sad thing is they're preying on small commercial customers. These are customers that they basically make a business by going month to month to month. And when I saw a preschool get scammed for $1,600, and I happened to be sitting in the call center, which none of you do that, I mean, by all means do it. You will get the utmost respect for the front line of our customer service and engagement operations. And I listened to this poor man in tears. Are you saying, I just lost $1,600? And he had. So that's when you take the steps, but you can never stop educating enough. And I personally, and I know my team takes very seriously, our commitment to keeping our customers' information safe.
Well, I mean, I know you've probably seen this a little bit more on the Big Brother side. If it's too creepy for customers, what do you guys do to address that, or have you tested consumers' perceptions of, keeping data private?
No, it's our philosophy is not to keep private or personalized information. We don't keep it in our platform. We let the utility manage it, and we manage our platform through anonymized, basically data. So we stay out of that game. But when you're in the home and you're presenting all this information to a customer that they wouldn't have known otherwise, the interesting thing is we haven't gotten any backlash from that, because customers, first of all, they opt into it, and the way you bring them in is you take them step by step by step. You're kind of, it was going back to another question you had here. We tried an experiment a while back, a couple years ago, where when we first started in the smart home fees, and we packed up a box full of stuff, of devices, and sent it to somebody's home and said, go implement this. Is a great thing. And they couldn't handle it because they couldn't step into it. But if you're stepping into it and you're asking the next question and then the answer comes, it's a much more natural experience. And as long as you don't over leverage that and then start marketing to them 6 ways from Sunday inside that environment, that's the other thing that can kind of tear it down, is just to overuse the channel, right?
Yeah,
So
you
if
lose that trust.
You lose the trust, and then all of a sudden they're going to start backing away. So you have to, there's a lot of data, and it's very valuable. How you use that and how frequently you use that's a very important question.
All right, well, I think we're almost out of time, but we have a couple minutes for some questions, if there's any questions from the audience.
We answered them all.
Oh, well, one behind you and then you. Go ahead.
Close.
Hi, Stephen. I'm curious, with all the data that you do have, do you combine outside data from services? So thinking about who's looking at buying an electric vehicle, who might have a waiting list, other sources to combine with your sources, and how does that work into your personalization, if you do that?
Oh yeah, I mean, and that's the great thing about this day and age. So you can subscribe to data services. So yeah, I mean, we use census data. We use data that analyzes the type of customer. Yes, we collect data. We get data through EPRI on our electric vehicle owners, so we know who has electric vehicles. So it's incumbent upon us to be able to take all that information together and process it, and then to be able to target your messaging accordingly, whether it's digital engagement, whether it's the old, send some sort of a snail mail or an email message. I mean, there are different ways to do that. And I think by and large, customers really appreciate that. I mean, we've seen that, because that shows that you are, you're thinking outside the typical box. I've been doing this now for 35 years, which, there used to be this term Doug, which would be like, for me, dumb old utility girl. We didn't have access to all those sorts of data a long time ago. We do now. So I was sitting in the conference earlier this morning, and I get an email from Netflix. Based on your watching history, Deborah, you might want to subscribe to this crime show. I think there's a problem. I do like crime shows. But other people are doing the same thing, not just utilities. They know what those different consumer preferences are.
Do you have one quick one?
So my question kind of leads on to that. So the research, and we heard in the panels this morning, that customers want to choose who sees their data and to get some benefit, financial or otherwise, if it's monetized. And so what I wanted to know is what policies and practices, okay, allow a reasonable balance, and how do your companies make those trade-off decisions?
Well, let's put it this way. Given the way laws work, it's not as though I can necessarily say, because you've given me your data, I'm going to give you a 10% discount on your electric bill. So we can't do that. But what you can do is, and this is one of my future challenges, what you can do is to provide more recognition for what your customers have done. So in my vision of nirvana, I've been an Austin Energy customer now for over 6 years. When I was a customer for 5 years, it would have been really nice if I'd gotten a letter or notice that said, Debbie, thank you for being an Austin Energy customer. Thank you for subscribing to these services. We appreciate you. There's not a single employee I know that doesn't love it when you say, we appreciate you, even though you may not have any choice. Yeah, we do the promotional outreaches as long as there is very minimal monetary value. You sign up for Green Choice, you get this lovely sticker that if you want to put it on the back of your car or on your window to join the community, you can. I prefer not to put that on the back of my little sports car. But, I mean, you can do things like that, but it's not always necessary. I guess my challenge would be figure out a way you can do that, but not necessarily make it monetary.
Yep.
Yeah,
For sure.
I'll jump into that one a little bit. We have a situation. I mean, we're in the home and we're presenting data, but we ask for data as well. It's a good thing, and we'll offer up, for example, for customers, if they give us 3 pieces of data about their home, various characteristics, we're going to unlock features for you, right? So it's not a monetary exchange. It's hard to do that. I think it'd be very difficult to do that, but it's kind of like the way Facebook and everybody else does it. If you give me some things, I'm going to give you something more valuable in return. It's a value proposition. It goes back to that, and it just doesn't happen to have money involved to make it, legal.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same for CPS Energy. I mean, being a muni, we don't have like an IOU that's got maybe some funding for that. We can't. So we've got to get creative, and it's back into the people first and recognizing our customers.
All right, so I think we ran over a couple minutes. Sorry about that, guys. But join me in thanking our panel for being here today and for the discussion.